Welcome to SDSU-Tube. We are here at the SJAC, the indoor facility on campus here at South Dakota State University. Just talked to Coach John Stiglmeyer about football's big win, 31-28 at Northern Iowa. First time in more than 30 years they had won.
36 years they haven't won, and they hadn't won at UNI in Missouri Valley play, so obviously a big win.
Had been 0-4 down there, but the Jacks win at 31-28 after being down 14-7 at halftime. All right, so you were down there, get us going in this game, and unlike the last couple of weeks for the Jacks where they had horrible first quarters, first drive at least was really good.
Yeah, 17-play drive, took more than 7 minutes off the clock. They converted 5 third downs, 5 for 5 on third down. Any coach will tell you that third down conversions are key to winning the football game, but a lot of simple stuff, some bubble screens to Trevor Wesley, some nice slants to Jason Schneider, some real easy plays. Zach Zenner did not have the greatest game in the world. I think he had more than 25 carries for only 80-plus yards, but he got some tough yards when he needed to, converted one of those third downs on that opening drive, and then it ends with a nice pass to Jake Wieneke for a touchdown, which Stig pointed out because Lujan looked off to his right side, then went back to his left side to find Wieneke, and the Jacks were up 7-0 halfway through the first quarter, and UNI hadn't touched the ball. 7
touchdown catches already for Jake Wieneke, redshirt freshman for the Jackrabbits. Zenner had 29 carries for 80 yards. But again, Northern Iowa, through 3 games, is the only team in the Missouri Valley that keeps teams under 100 yards rushing. They're only giving up 97 yards a game. So tough 80 yards for Zenner, and he did get in for a couple of touchdowns in the second half. So Jacks get out 7-0, but they end up down 14-7 at halftime. What happens after that?
Well, it was sort of a punt affair for most of the first and second quarters, but on one punt by Ethan Sawyer, it was returned 27 yards to midfield, and then David Johnson took the very next play, 50 yards for a touchdown. Stig said it was a formation that the Jacks hadn't practiced for, they hadn't seen before. They faked the jet sweep, and then Johnson went practically untouched up the left sideline for a 50-yard score. And then late in the half, Lujan throws a pretty bad pick into triple coverage, and then UNI capitalizes on that for your 14-7 halftime score.
All right, 14-7, but again, Stig said we were confident we were going to come out and play our best football in the third quarter, and they really did. Right out of the chute in the third quarter, Nick Mears comes up with an interception.
Yep, SDSU won the toss and received, so UNI got the ball to start the second half, but then on the fourth play, Nick Mears gets this interception off of a tipped pass. SDSU goes down the field, 3rd and 2 at the 8. Zenner gets, to me, about 1.5, 1 3/4 yards, and I was thinking in my mind, not that I'm a football expert or anything, but I'm like, you have a chance, they should probably go for it, and they did, and Zenner gets all the way down to the half-yard line and then scores on the next play. So it was nice to see some confidence in that offense. I mean, Stig's confident in all areas of his team, offense, defense, special teams, but in that situation, down by a touchdown, you don't want to kick a measly field goal to still be down 14-10. You want to, show some cojones, if you will, and go for it on 4th and 1. They got it, and then they got the touchdown and tied at 14.
The cojones 6 gets them in there to tie it up, and they would get a field goal later on that would be very big in the game. But all right, 14-14, and then third quarter, the whole second half was just crazy with tip passes. There were 3 interceptions on each side of the ball, and all right, 14-14, and then what?
Then UNI drives down, but the Jacks block a field goal. Cole Langer gets his hand on it, blocks it at the line of scrimmage. SDSU doesn't do anything with that ensuing possession, but on the next UNI possession, they chase Sawyer Cole Morgan back inside, and he throws a wobbler to Dallas Brown, who just high steps it basically in 30 yards for a pick 6. I mean, the third quarter could not have gone any better for SDSU. You get a big interception at the beginning of the quarter, you go for 4th down, you get a touchdown, you block a field goal, and you get a pick 6, and Northern Iowa doesn't score any points. I don't know if you can script a third quarter better than that.
All right, Jacks lead 21-14. Mears, that was his first interception of the season. First pick of the year for Dallas Brown, goes back for 6, and they would get another interception later in the ballgame on almost the last play. So go to the fourth quarter, Jacks lead at 21-14, and they lead at 28-14 after what happens.
Another long drive, another drive that took more than 6 minutes off the clock, more clutch third down conversions. And Zach Zenner just got in for another simple 1-yard touchdown. They're up 28-14 with less than 9 minutes to go. And there were some UNI fans who were heading for the exits thinking that this game was over. But as we all saw, it was far from over.
All right, midway through the fourth, 28-14, Jacks in the lead. And they got some the play calling and the rhythm and the offense on those 2 long drives in the football game worked very well. So 28-14, Jacks lead midway through the 4th. And then
UNI just goes on their drive, probably their most effective drive of the game. They went 70-plus yards in about 3 minutes. Jerian Butler got called for a pass interference that Stig thought was questionable on 3rd and goal, but that set up 1st and goal and UNI scores. But then the key after that, there's 4:59 to go. SDSU's up a touchdown. UNI still has all their timeouts, and they go for the onside kick, which worked to perfection.
And get the luckiest bounce. I mean, it was a perfect bounce for them, and they did execute it very well.
They executed well, but SDSU's defense rose to the occasion. Jack Sherlock, who had an absolutely monster game, comes up with a sack on Breon Carnes, UNI's second quarterback. They were switching QBs throughout the game, but he comes up with a sack on 4th down, and SDSU takes over with about 3:45 to go.
2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss for Jack Sherlock in this game. He was a monster after not playing the week before against Missouri State. So 28-28, Jacks get the 28-21, and another just crazy batted ball that got tipped all over the place, and UNI takes it back for a touchdown.
Yeah, and this was sort of the thing that Stig alluded to in the press conference, because there were a lot of people out there, you have the ball up 7 with less than 4 minutes to go. Why are you not running? Why are you not trying to run the clock out? He basically said that the running game wasn't nearly as effective as they would have liked to be, and there's no guarantee. They got a false start first, so it was 1st and 15. And on that 1st down play, they passed it, and it was just batted away. And so my thought process was, okay, they were trying to make up for the yardage. Now they're just going to run. But no, they went to it again, and the ball was pretty much kind of on the money. The problem was it was a tight window. It hit Brandon Andrews, I believe, in the face mask and then went up and tipped. UNI got it. Ray Mitchell took it down the left sideline for a pick 6. So it's easy to second guess. I'll admit I was one of those people wondering why they weren't running the clock out. But Stig basically explained it in a way that, you got to stay aggressive. Passing game was working a lot better than the running game, and they thought they could do it, but just the bounce of the ball and the UNI crowd's going crazy because all of a sudden this game is tied with 3 minutes to go.
All right. We haven't seen the best yet as far as highlights go, because the catch of probably the year is coming up from Jason Schneider on the next drive.
Yeah, a Sports Center top 10 type of catch. And, the ball wasn't the greatest ball thrown by Lujan, but obviously SDSU gets it back. They're trying to drive down. And Schneider gets just his big, meaty paw up and basically taps it to himself, catches it with one hand. He actually said after the game, if you look at the tape, he gets tackled sort of by the cloth of his jersey, and he says he could have scored if he had gotten away. He would have ran for a touchdown, which I wholeheartedly believe if you look at the video replay of it. But nevertheless, a 40-yard catch that gets him into UNI territory, absolutely sensational, and that would set them up.
They get a 44-yard field goal from Justin Siravatka that was no doubt, was it?
No doubt. Probably the cleanest kick I've ever seen from Siravatka. I mean, he's been consistent all year, but, sometimes his field goals are a little to the left, a little to the right. This one was just right down the middle, as perfect a kick as you can imagine in obviously easier conditions because he's inside of a dome. But he makes the field goal with 1:42 to go, and the Jacks are up by 3.
31-28, Jacks in the lead. UNI gets back to about midfield, and they got Breon Carnes in there again, and he wings it, and Melvin Tavares is there for the Jackrabbits.
Yep, second week in a row, Melvin Tavares has made an interception late in the game, and as Stig pointed out, the difference this time, he kept his helmet on. Obviously, last week at Missouri State, he got a little too excited, and he listens. He kept his helmet on, as Stig likes. He gave the ball right to the ref as soon as the play was over, and the Jacks went into victory formation. So an absolutely bananas fourth quarter, but SDSU does come away with a very good Missouri Valley Conference road victory.
Jacks get to 5-2 overall. They're 2-1 in the Missouri Valley, and yeah, you can't overstate, just like the win last week against Missouri State, you can't overstate how big this win was just to keep those victories coming in the conference.
Yeah, the conference is so deep this year. I mean, basically, not to pile on, but except for the Yotes, every team has won a conference game. There's a lot of depth in those teams at the top and closer toward the middle and the bottom. So you can't take any Valley game for granted, and the fact that they got this road win in UNI, a place they hadn't won in more than 3 decades, to get them to 5-2. Remember, they were 4-4 last year after that awful loss at Missouri State. So they're already ahead of last year's pace, and they still got tough games coming up with the Youngstown State game and the North Dakota State game.
Who told you last week that the Jacks would go to Northern Iowa and win?
I believe this guy, Thomas Wilford Nieman. He said the Jacks would win at UNI, and you were right. Is that what you want? You wanted me to admit on this video blog that you were right?
Yes, thank you. All right. Jacks get Youngstown State in for Hobo Day game this week, and you got all this crap going on, all the fun stuff going on, all the distractions going on during the week. Stig doesn't like that. He loves the football game itself, but Youngstown comes in, and again, another team that's 5-2, same record, identical to the Jackrabbits. Going to be a tough game.
Going to be a different game than the one last year. Remember, last year they went to Youngstown State with their playoff life on the line, and they destroyed the Penguins 42-13. This year, they got a new quarterback, a new type of offensive system. Youngstown's played they haven't blown anyone out, but they played some good, solid football games. They beat Southern Illinois this past weekend. They lost to Western Illinois, who might be the surprise of the Valley this year. And then in their first week, they beat Missouri State at Missouri State, but just by a score of 14-7. So a good defense that they're going to be facing, much better than last year, and a different offense. So they got to prepare for this game. This is going to be a very tough challenge, and you hope Stig will probably make sure they don't, but you hope they don't look ahead to the Bison game in 2 weeks.
No, they won't. I mean, so tough. Obviously, every game from here on out. And Youngstown at South Dakota State, 2 o'clock on Saturday at Coughlin Alumni Stadium. That's it for SDSU-Tube.